And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Women of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today we are going to react to the Feminine Fancy. We've reacted to her before. If you haven't seen that one, it's a really good one. But this one is going to be very interesting. She's going to talk about feminine evolution. And I'm intrigued. I like when we talk about how things have evolved into what it is now or where it's going to be. So let's go check this out.
Hey, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. We just hit 130,000 subscribers like this weekend, which is super exciting. So thank you guys for helping me get to 130,000 subscribers, 130,000 feminine and fancy women who love the things that I love, and I love you guys. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, Felicia. You've done an amazing job. You deserve it.
Before I jump into today's video, I want to go ahead and give a little shout out to my Patreon, which many of you guys already know about. Some of you aren't thrilled about, but you know what? I gotta do what I gotta do. I am now creating content on Patreon as well. If you want to support me and you want to support the Feminine Fancy and this brand and my message of uplifting
Let's start video.
the community over there, I have very secret and elite a community of women that you over there. It is a really great community.
Hey, check it out, women. You know, why not?
So if you want to support this, out 3 of my patrons for today's video. Thank you for supporting the channel as well. I am so grateful for all of you. Okay, let's jump into today's video. I wanted to talk about feminine evolution and how you can mature as a feminine woman. On this channel, I talk a lot about your 20s, and the only reason why I do that, you guys, is because I'm still in my 20s. I don't have any concept or perspective to give you about being in your 30s or 40s or 50s or anything like that, because I have not experienced it yet. So that's why I'm always talking about being in your 20s, because that's where I'm at right now.
And that makes sense. However, you can understand what 30s and 40s and 50s is going to look like for a woman if you talk to the women that are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. You know, like there are millions of case studies of 30s and 40s and 50s that you can, learn from and talk about on your channel, which is somewhat important if you really think about it. Like for women to only know what happens in your, teenage years and in your 20s, it's a good start, but what are you preparing for? Like what is going to happen in your 30s, 40s, and 50s that it's crucial for you to prepare for in your teenage years and in your 20s? Because you're establishing the foundation of your life right now in your teenage years and in your 20s. And if you don't do a good job there, unfortunately, you kind of have to do it on your own. Like very often parents aren't there to help you. And you don't very often have a man to provide for you and protect your femininity, etc. So it's literally work for you to remain or return back to your femininity. It's horrible if you ask me. Like if every woman, but I kind of want to save this for this video, but let me just say, I think there should be 3 phases of a woman's life. The first phase, preferably, if it was possible, it would be great to have a father that provided and protected her during her childhood, okay? And that emulated the type of man that she would want in the future. Like a good, righteous man, who's actually doing his best and is raising her up in the right way. What is the right way? Well, basically love and attention and, men aren't always at home, but the best thing that he can do for his daughter is to love her mother, okay? That's really amazing thing, but at the same time, one mother is not enough. But that's a discussion for at the end of the video or for another time. What should be the next phase of a woman's life is her developing female friends. A lot of female friends, okay? Like that is, your teenage years where you go through and experience what it is to be a girl together with other girls so that you can over time find your special 2 best friends. And it kind of goes in line with what I was saying, is that a father should make sure that a girl has enough mothers, okay? 1 mother is not enough. Sorry, it's not. You need, in my opinion, okay, this is just a theory, but in my opinion, children would thrive massively by having multiple mothers. 3 is enough. No more nor less. Where women can, where the daughter can emulate their behavior of being unburdened and feminine, and then find their 2 best friends that they want to be together with for life. And then the next phase becomes those three together as a package deal, okay, are, the parents of these three daughters together create a short list of potential bachelors, okay, who have a massively strong financial foundation, who are ready, who have the reputation, who've been proven, okay, over time that they are honest, integral, and trustworthy men, and willing to improve and all that stuff, right? They've got the stamp of approval from all the parents. Then they enter into together with one man who provides for them and protects them for the rest of their lives. That's the perfect evolution of femininity, where a woman can remain in her femininity from her childhood, her teenage years, and then into the rest of her life. Wouldn't that be amazing if women never, ever, ever had to experience being masculine, being disciplined, being focused, being having to control themselves, having to do this, that, and the other, having to have a boss, having to go to school. And I'm talking about, there's nothing wrong with learning, okay? But formal education sucks in general. Both, public and, further education after high school, like college and university, it's horrible. And don't say that, oh, well, that's male chauvinistic of you. No, I think formal education is horrible for boys too. We should scrap it for both genders. It's horrible. But, again, my opinion. But let's hear her thoughts about the feminine evolution. I just kind of wanted to share my evolution for how to retain femininity forever. And if you can't do it, that's okay, because you didn't know this information beforehand. No one's protected you. No one's been there for you, etc., etc. But could you maybe provide this for your next generation? Could you perhaps make sure that your daughter gets this kind of a setting so that she can retain her femininity forever and not have to go through the pains and horrors and traumas and emotional drama that you had to go through because of no one was there for you. No one protected you. No one provided for you, and you had to do all that crap yourself.
Within today's video, I think the most exciting thing is that you can evolve regardless of how old you are, regardless of where you are in life. There's always room for feminine evolution. There's always an opportunity for you to grow as a woman. And I want to talk about that in today's video and give you some tips and some ways that you can really start to evolve and mature within your femininity. So
it's very interesting to evolve in your femininity, because if you could, it would be amazing to just remain in your bubbly, excited, fired up femininity that you were in your youth, in your teenage years. Wouldn't that be amazing to just remain a teenager forever? Now, obviously, you grow up, you also become sexual eventually, right? Once you found your man, and you begin to evolve, okay, so to speak, by discovering things about yourself, about your body, about your talents and hobbies, and, other things in life that you don't experience as a kid, obviously. But also the aspects of motherhood and understanding how deeply connected you can be to people through your family, through your inner circle, and explore healing at a different level, explore nurturing at a different level, explore, there's so much that is untapped in women. But they end up untapping it forever a lot of the time, simply because they don't have a man who provides for them and protects them forever. Women because they have to tap in their masculinity. They have to do the masculine thing and focus on their careers and focus on this, that, and the other. It's diversification, meaning you end up kind of half-heartedly doing both directions. It's difficult to evolve as a feminine creature or to develop your femininity if you're in a profession that depresses you or that gives you problems, or that, you get what I'm saying? Like, femininity, the definition that we use on femininity on this channel is being unburdened. Okay? If you've got tons of problems in your life, you're not unburdened. You're masculine. And so your first number one goal should be to work towards finding the highest value man that you could possibly find, who is on his grind, who wants to evolve and grow his masculinity, okay? maybe he's already, evolved very quickly and is far ahead of you in terms of, having evolved, so to speak. But that's the biggest priority for you. No matter what, if you want femininity, is to, how can I unburden myself financially for the rest of my life? And if he is a good guy, and if he has been cleared by the three fathers, okay, then you should be right on track. But, this is how it should be, but obviously it's not how it is today. So we've got to, there's this huge transition of how we're going to eventually accomplish that. But hey, we're getting there. One small step at a time. We understand how important femininity and masculinity is. We'll eventually get there.
Let's jump right in. My first tip for you is to learn to dress for the occasion. This is probably coming from the fact that I live in California, and like, if you tell us that we can wear flip-flops and a Patagonia to a wedding, like, someone's going to do it, okay? Like, we are not the fanciest people in the world. But I think it's so important as women that we know how to dress for the occasion and that we focus in on our feminine maturity rather than being perceived as feminine all the time. So what I mean by this is there's this idea that as a feminine woman, you have to be wearing dresses all the time, right? You have to be wearing dresses and skirts and like frolicking through fields. And like, that is not reality. That's not everyone's life. If it's your life, then you do you, and that's amazing. That's not everyone's reality. If you're going to go, let's say, on a hike, it would...
You know why it's not their reality? And it's not that they have to be in dresses all the time or whatever. It's just the fact that in society, you're going to be rejected if you look different, if you look unique, if you look in a different type of way. And that's rejection, right? When you're doing something differently than other people, you feel like, oh, other people are not doing it. Should I be doing it? And blah, blah, blah. And then eventually you're kind of like, I don't want to dress like this anymore. I need to dress like everyone else dresses because I'm part of the collective. This is a problem, actually. I think it's a problem. But, what can you do about it? You can't really do much about it in monogamy, in the situation that we're in. In 3 in Love, you can dress however way you want and then go outside into society and be dressed the way you want. Why? Because you've got 2 other women that back you up. You've got 2 other women who dress approximately the same as you, right? You guys might have different clothing, but you back each other up because it's approximately the same. Did you get what I'm saying here? Like, being together with the group or with one other, okay? If, let's say, for example, one of the women is together with, with the man, then the 2 others can go out and have a nice time together and they won't be rejected. And if they are rejected, they manage to reject back. You know what I mean? Because they're 2 together. Instead of being by yourself and vulnerable and going out into society and then getting looks, okay? Women hate getting looks, but that's what they get very often if they dress differently.
Wouldn't be the best idea to wear like a long flowing dress on a hike. It's not the most practical thing to wear for an outdoor activity. Same thing goes for your workplace environment. Many of you have messaged me and said, I can't dress feminine at work, I don't know what to do. And I would like for you to sort of level up your femininity and also mature your femininity and realizing that yes, how you present yourself, how you dress, what you wear is important, because as I've always said, people are going to judge you anyway, so you might as well put your best foot forward. However, in certain scenarios, you have to be mature enough to understand, okay, I can't wear a cottagecore dress to my job, like to my 9 to 5. As much as I would love to, I can't do that. Or, whatever, there might be guidelines. Maybe you have a uniform, right? So you find little ways to incorporate your femininity without having your feminine identity be wrapped up in your ability to wear dresses all of the time, because that's just not reality.
Or just, I know it's not reality, but preferably you wouldn't need to work at all, right? That's the goal. That's the goal, So in the meantime, though, let's just put that aside for now because it's not reality. I can't do anything about it right now. So what do I do in order for me to attract the highest value man possible? When you go outside, why would you try to attract your highest value man out there? Women get dressed for other women to not be judged. They don't really get dressed for men, so to speak. I remember so vividly my mom saying that, no, I can't go out yet. We can't go to the shop yet. And I'm like, why? And she's like, I have to put my face on. And I'm like, what? Like, and I'm like this 10-year-old, and I'm like wondering what do you mean your face on? And she's like, my makeup. I can't go out without my makeup on. And I'm like, why? Like, Your husband is at home. Like, dad is at home. Why do you need makeup on if dad is here? Like, who are you trying to impress? And that has stuck with me for a very long time, that women actually don't get dressed for men. The vast majority of time, okay? Women get dressed for other women, okay? In order for them to not be judged very often. And that's something that we forget. Now, there are, of course, exceptions to the rule. And, you know, like, do Gothic people, you know, do it because of other women? Yeah, maybe they do. Maybe their best friends are Gothics. You know what I mean? So they that's what they wear. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, women very often wear stuff because they don't want to get rejected by other women. So, but in the meantime, though, what do we do? What do women do? You know, in terms of their uniforms and stuff like that. Like, doing their hair a specific way, if they have a uniform or something, you know, like small things like that, you know, like me being, more importantly than clothing is attitude, though. You could be a woman who has the manliest attire, but it's kind of interesting. If you are a feminine girl or feminine woman, you look good no matter what. Okay, like, you know, but that means that you're feminine in terms of, like, you know, you most important thing is making sure that you are looking your best, looking your healthiest. And, you know, so maybe weight loss is a thing that's important. You know what I mean? Like, other things like that, in my opinion, that's way more important in terms of femininity than clothing. Although clothing plays its part, but that's kind of like the last part of the mile. Like, you first got to work on your attitude, okay? We're talking now about finding the highest value man possible, which you won't find out there, but let's say that you are, okay, for fun's sake, or that you will. Most important aspect is the attitude, okay? And you being thin, and you working on your beauty. That's the most important thing. And then we can talk about clothing. This is just from a man's perspective. We put a lot of aspect on the visual, but for us, the visual is more so your health rather than your clothing. If that makes sense.
There is a moment where you have to sort of level up your mentality as far as, okay, this is what is appropriate to wear here, this is what's appropriate to wear here, and kind of be mature enough to recognize that just because you have to wear, you know, slacks and black shoes and a polo to work, that does not take away from your femininity in any way. So I think that's important to acknowledge. I have a video over on Patreon that specifically goes through different scenarios and an outdoor activity. So that's over on Patreon if you're interested. Okay, the second key to your feminine evolution and how to grow as a woman is to spend time around other women. I was listening to a podcast earlier.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love this, Felicia. This is one of your best points, and that's might be the best point. I don't know. Throughout your entire video, women need to spend time with women. I cannot underline this enough. However, it is one of the most difficult things for me to tell a masculine woman to do. Why? Because she can't handle being around masculine women. You see, masculine women don't relate much to feminine women because feminine women are unburdened. Masculine woman is burdened, which means that she can't really get along with femininity, although that's the best thing for her, because she feels unequal. She needs to be around people that she feels equal with. And if she herself is burdened, she can't spend much time with feminine creatures because she'll feel like, oh, they might judge me and it's not working very well. And also she feels rejected without them maybe even rejecting her at all. Or she rejects them before they even get to reject her. Like, it's very messy when it comes to girls' relationships. And the best way to avoid this is to follow the path that I just spoke of in the, earlier here. The easiest time to make friends as a girl is during your kid years and your teenage years. Easy to make friends. So easy, right? For women, because you're in an environment where that is it just happens by itself. You're in the classroom. Who is the girls that are most like me? Okay, well, I'm going to sit next to them. And girls are also unburdened during that time. So they're very cheerful and happy and so good to see each other and screaming, all that stuff. And so they have a nice time during their high school experience. Some of them. Some women are already massively burdened in high school, so they have a bad experience through high school and never recover, okay? But there's the majority of women go through their femininity and feminine years and feminine evolution during their teenage years, and then life starts normally after college. If you don't go to college, then, your femininity, it tanks immediately once you start working. Women don't like work. Women don't like to go to a job, the same thing every single freaking day, boring, mundane, masculine thing, and it messes their femininity up. And they don't get to spend time with their friends anymore. They don't get to go out and have fun anymore, except for weekends. And it's messed up the way that society has built it for women these days. And women are screwed over by guys very often in their teenage years and in their 20s. So they don't trust men to provide for them. And their mothers have been telling them to never trust a man, which caused women to then try to become independent and figure things out on their own because, that's going to give them security. No, that's going to be the opposite of security, because now you have to rely on an income from a boss for the rest of your life. Unless you create a business. But that's like 10xing your rejection. Like, women don't want to be rejected. They just want to have fun with their friends. Really? And if they could, that would be amazing. But again, it's not reality, so what are we gonna do, right? But I'm just telling you guys that, if we could, that would be amazing. What was I gonna go with this? So feminine friends, right? If you could keep those feminine friends that you had in high school, that would be amazing. But what happens? They move away, they get a job over here, they find another man over there, and then suddenly you're left alone. I guess you get friendships from work and you get friendships in different places, etc. But very often they're shallow relationships if you are very masculine. If you're feminine, you don't recognize what I'm telling you right now. But the majority of women out there these days struggle with their relationships. They do. And if they don't struggle with their relationships, they don't have a lot, or the ones that they do have just are not that available a vast majority of the time. Why? Because of work, and because they have a boyfriend, or because they're married, or because they haven't just had a kid, or because life happens, right? Wouldn't it be amazing to just have two best friends that you can experience life with forever? Always women, like on different podcasts and different things that I hear, women always talk about how, why do I want to get married? Because I want companionship. I want someone to spend time with me, a lot, and to experience life together and go through this life, blah, 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 together. Well, guess what? What they're really wanting is not a man that marries them, although that's what they think they need because they don't have a man in their life. They're like, oh, if I get a man, all my problems are going to be solved. No, you need women way more than you need men. You need 80% of your time will be spent with femininity if you want to remain in your femininity. And then you can have 20% where the man is around. Maybe 5% when you're alone with him, right? Out of your awake hours. Why? Because that's how polarity works. The more time you spend with a masculine man, the more masculine you're going to become because he influences you. Which is not necessarily bad, okay? It's good to get some of the masculine latent there so that you can tap into it anytime when you want to. But to become masculine and be burdened by his burden, right? Like a masculine man has tons of responsibility and burden on him, and just by osmosis, you're going to feel his burden, which is not good long term, because then you move away from femininity. So that I would say that's the most important thing that she's saying right now. It's amazing.
And the girl said something. She was like, I'm just not really a girl's girl. And I don't understand those people. I am a girl's girl. I love hanging out with my girlfriends. I get so much wisdom from spending time with my mom and, talking on the phone with, my godmothers and things like that, because there is an element of recognizing that as a 20-year-old or even as in your 30s, like no matter what, you don't have all the answers. And we can learn so much from just surrounding ourselves with other women who have had life experiences that we may not have had, or who have gone through things that are similar to what we are going through.
or simply women that are going through the exact same experience that you're going through. Imagine going through life and you can't really talk to other women about the issues that your man has, right? Imagine if you had, like, because a lot of women, you know, they oh man, I wanted to touch the topic of gossip, because outside of a 3 in love circumstance, 3 in love, I haven't even explained it yet, and you guys are confused maybe for those that are new here. But 3 in love is 1 man, 3 women, right? You kind of got that so far. But basically, in terms of gossip, when there's women that are burdened, they gossip a lot, okay? Meaning negative stuff that they talk about other people. So, but when there's no 3 in love, in monogamy, women go to other women that are married to other men or that are whatever, and then they gossip. Okay? And since they're burdened, they're going to talk negatively. Which means that person now is going to go and tell it to someone else. And then they're going to go and tell it to someone else, and they're going to go and tell it to someone else. When women are burdened, that's what they do. When women are feminine, they talk only positively. But if there's problems, they're going to try and solve it together, right? And understand each other and be there for each other. But if you had 2 best friends, you actually are a closed circle. So you can actually vent both positive and negative stuff and know that that information does not leave the house. That information never leaves anywhere. But they can gossip as much as they want. Do you see how beautiful that is? And they don't spread it. So this allows actually women to vent once and for all and get stuff out that they have on their, you know, on their heart or on their chest, whatever. You know what I mean? There's so many different layers to 3 in love that, you know, many people just simply don't think about, you know, because oh no, I could never share my man, you know, kind of puts a wall there, and so they don't want to listen to that. But I agree totally with her that women need more women in their lives, 100%. And to not be a girl's girl, that basically means, oh, okay, well, she's burdened. I'm so sad for her, and I wish I could include her in my feminine circle. You know what I mean? If a woman is feminine and unburdened, she will try to nurture that person as much as she can until she can't handle the negativity anymore. Because that happens, right? If you're very feminine and you're with a masculine woman, you'd be like, I can't spend time with you. I don't want to return her calls. I don't want to return her texts. It's too much burden. And that's a problem that a lot of women go through.
If you're not a girl's girl, I would challenge you to ask yourself why that is. Is there like an intimidation factor? Is there a jealousy factor? Is there does it stem from like a poor relationship with your mom? Like, think about the reasons why you might feel like you're not really a girl's girl, because I think that kind of falls into the category of like, oh, I'm not like other girls, right? Like, other girls are like, you know, silly and they go shopping, but not me. I skateboard, which is like, fine, if you skateboard, that's great. I like.
Did you hear how masculine that was? Like, everyone knows this stuff inherently. All the stuff that I teach is like, I know what you're talking about. I can see it. I've experienced it. Yeah, makes sense. If you really just think with your inherent brain, like, and your observation of things. Like, she just mentioned a masculine trait. Skateboard. Is it a girl sport? Really? No, it's not. But shopping, it is. Giggling and being silly, that's girly. Okay? Did you see all of these feminine and masculine things? It's just so easy to pinpoint what they are.
I like to skateboard too sometimes. You can see that on my Instagram. I think it would be really smart to sort of ask yourself, like, okay, well, why am I not a girl's girl? Why do I feel like there isn't much to be gained from spending time with other women? Because in reality, there's a lot to be gained from spending time with women, especially women who have gone through different things. For example, those of us who aren't married yet, or those of us who aren't in a relationship yet, or who don't have kids yet, we need to have a community of women who are not only like-minded, but who have gone through similar things and who have experienced things that we have not experienced. So it's going to be important for you to figure out, why are you not a girl's girl? And
because that's going to create a lot of problems for you long term. Trust me. A lot of loneliness. A girl who's not a girl's girl, she's going to be lonely. Lonely. For a long time. You know, life is very long. It actually is. People think that it's short. If you're lonely, it's a long time to be alone. And that's, so if you're in your teenage years and in your 20s and you're like, I don't really like being around people, that has to change. And it's not your fault. It's not you who put yourself in that situation. It's not you who've chosen, you know, to act the way you act. Women are completely environmental creatures, and that's okay. But if it's an environment that's going to screw you over for life, we've got to change it. We've got to put discipline, masculinity in you to move towards femininity, right? Temporarily, just put in massive effort to move towards femininity and put yourself in an environment where you can be that. Okay? Get rid of all the stuff that are burdening you, preferably, as much as possible, and then move towards femininity. That's the best thing I can tell you, so that you can become a girl's girl. Who are you going to spend time with if you're not a girl's girl? So, while I could spend time with my husband, the more you spend time with your husband, the more feminine he's going to be. The more masculine you're going to be, meaning burden, okay? And he's going to not be able to control his emotions. He's going to be way more interested in sex than you are because of, his ejaculations, which cause him to be sexually hypersexualized. And in marriage, that kind of sucks for a woman. And he won't have time if he is a man and actually likes to work, which we do. Like, I love working. Like, you have no idea how much I love working. Like, if I could work 20 hours a day, I would. But I know that I'll be more effective if I only work 12, or 13 or 14 or 15 or 16. Everything that I do from the moment I wake up until I fall asleep, I want to work. Why is that? I want power, okay? Understand how men are wired. We want power. We want the ability to do. We want to master something. We want skills. And we want to impress, okay? We want to create a reputation for ourselves. We want to create a name for ourselves. We're completely wired differently. And women don't have to work if men are actually tapping into their mindset the way that I'm tapping into it. If that makes sense. But I don't get a lot of freedom to do that because, hey, I live in monogamy and my wife needs me. Like, she needs me. Is that her fault? My fault? Yes, it's my fault that she needs me because we now understand why she needs me so much. Okay? And the fact that she's feminine makes her vulnerable. Okay? So because of her vulnerability, like, it would be easy for me to say, okay, grow up a bit, grow some balls, honey, okay? Become a man and stop being so vulnerable and go out there and get rejected. You don't need me. Really, okay? We understand that if I burden her, all crazy stuff happens, which we know, and we've tried it. We've experienced all the crap that happens as a result of a woman being masculine. So we're just like, I'm unburdening her as much as I can whenever I can. So I work from home, and I take care of the kids with her and we do all that stuff. Do you think I want to do this? No. But I care about her so much that I'm willing to do that for a time until we get the other two girls. Okay? And she doesn't want me at home, right? But we have the best friendship in the world, which is great, but that's not really where we want to be. She wants me to be mysterious. She wants to be thinking and fantasizing about me, you know what I mean? While I'm gone. Anyway, it's almost like this YouTube channel is me venting about the issues that monogamy creates, but I want it to be so open and transparent as possible so that you guys understand what happens in long-term relationships, especially between a feminine woman who wants to be feminine and a masculine man who wants to be even more flippin' masculine. We've got problems that people aren't even aware that they have, but we understand what they are, and that's why we create an escape plan that works and will actually create fulfillment for the rest of our lives. This is not just like, oh, we think that it's going to be nice to have some other women in our family. No. Like, we know that once the two others arrive, man, we're going to have a blast. Me from being gone and working and becoming a multi-millionaire because that's what I want, and I want to invest in other people, and for me to and be generous, and for me to do that, I got to make money, and I want to provide for my family luxuriously. What's wrong with that? And she wants to just be silly and giggly and have fun all day and bake, food and make this, that, and the other and play and develop her hobbies and talents and nurture and be there for other women so that they can be there for her.
and see how can you incorporate female relationships in your life, because I think that they're very important and very pivotal to our growth as women. So the third key to growing
as feminine women
as a woman is learning to trust your decision making. This is another concept that I got from that book, The Defining Decade, which my last video was about. Learn how to trust your decision making, you guys. If you can't trust and you don't believe that you're making the best decision for yourself, then what are you even doing? How are you going to exist in the world? How are you going to show up in the world if you don't trust the decisions that you make?
This is a very interesting one. At first I'm just like, what? Trust your decision making? Like, there's many times when women are like making very interesting decisions, so to speak. Okay? And I'm like, But at the same time, Felicia's onto something when it comes to decision making in terms of following your heart. Okay? So if you follow your heart and believe that, my heart will lead me right, that's beautiful, but not very practical. And I'll explain why. Like, it would be amazing if women could always follow their hearts. And that's the kind of setting that I'm trying to set up. In a three in love relationship, you would have that. Like, you'd be able to express freely everything that you want to do and everything that you want to have. And you would do the things that you want to do. And that's basically decision making. But in a world where you're monogamous, and you're by yourself, and you're vulnerable, and you want to trust your decision-making, meaning your emotional decision-making as a woman, you're going to make big blunders doing that. Like, should you trust your decision-making if your heart is telling you to sleep with that bad boy over there? What if he invites you? What if he turns you on and creates tingles? Well, I gotta trust my decision making. That's what she said. That's a horrible decision, right? But guess what? If a woman is burdened, she can't control it. If a woman is unburdened, she can control it, and she might even remember what Felicia said. And then she remembers what Felicia said, and she said, trust your decision making. Okay, my decision making. And then it basically is up to what has been inside her head, her environment, that chooses which direction she's going to choose. Is it going to be fear she goes after? Is she going to be lust she goes after? Love? Is it going to, is it my parents said that sleeping with someone outside of long life commitment is very bad. So I'm going to listen to my parents because I have a really good relationship with my parents and I don't know who that guy is. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, trusting your decision making, like, for me, there's a tiny switch up there saying that, yeah, let's create a setting where that's possible for women, where they can trust their intuition and trust themselves as women, because that is truly what the universe brought to you. That's your feminine potential. I completely agree. But if women just simply do that, they're going to end up in lots and lots and lots of problems. Okay? If they're unburdened, they have rationality. They can make good decisions, both, in everything. But most women aren't unburdened. She seems unburdened. She seems like things are actually working out in her life, which is she's pretty, okay? You got it, Felicia. You have the genetic lottery, which is great. You had a healthy family, it seems like, when you grew up. There's just tons of people that are just not in your situation to be unburdened like that and trust their decision making. Burdened women, in my opinion, they need to find male models role models that actually can lead them to their best proper destination. They need leadership. Femininity needs masculine leadership. So trusting your decision making, but it's a good point though. I wish women could apply it.
There comes a time, I think, in every woman's life where we have to sit back and really decide, like, am I my own woman, or am I being influenced by my parents? Am I being influenced by, by other people, by my boyfriend, by my friends? Who am I being influenced by?
You are an environmental creature. You can never change that fact. Ever. You can never be independent by anyone else's influence. What you can choose, if you're unburdened, is which environment you're in. Whose environment are you in? Who is it? A toxic environment? Okay. Then you're probably burdened, and so it's going to be a struggle to leave that environment. If you have a good environment, then you don't really have to change the environment, and then why would you want to trust your own decision making if everything's wonderful? Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, there's just like this incongruency here that's kind of difficult to understand. I think this has a lot to do with her independence, and I really believe that she's feminine, but she wants to still keep that masculine independence there going on for her. Am I wrong, Felicia?
And there comes a point where you have to assess that and then start to make decisions for yourself and be okay with those decisions. That's something that is talked about so much in the defining decade. And it honestly helped me a lot because I think, our generation in particular has this problem with analysis paralysis or paralysis of analysis, right? Where we have so many options that we don't even know what to choose. We don't know which path to take. And sometimes just picking a path, just choosing a direction helps us grow so much instead of just being stuck in that limbo of not knowing what to do.
Grow so much. Like, it's great that women grow, but which direction are you growing? Are you growing towards masculinity, or are you growing towards, are you remaining in your femininity? That's a good question. Which direction do you want to go? You want to be unburdened, or you want to be burdened? Like, why would you just pick any direction? Pick any direction? Oh my gosh, what a horrible advice. No offense, Felicia, but literally, like, you have to pick a direction that actually is going to give you joy, bliss, and happiness for the rest of your life. And I don't understand what you mean, which direction, and how many different options there are. Like, how many options are there to get true joy, bliss, and happiness? There's one option. Find a man of high value and make sure that you are part of a unit of 3. In my opinion, it's a theory, but hey, in my opinion, monogamy just kind of has a shortfall there. That was also a theory and just hasn't worked out for anyone, really. I mean, some people say it works, but hey. But in terms of what there's not many directions to take if you want joy, bliss, and happiness. Family is joy, bliss, and happiness. But family in a situation where you're with women the majority of the time, that's a direction. That's a good direction. And in my opinion, it's the only direction towards true joy, bliss, and happiness, and being able to stay in the now forever. Because that's what you want. As an unburdened creature, you want to be in the now forever. But if you choose any direction, any other direction that takes you away from joy, bliss, and happiness is the wrong direction. You might have a good life, and I hope that's the case for everyone that watches this video. But are we satisfied with just a good life? Don't you want to have a fantastic life? Don't you want to have a life that you look back on and you're just like, oh my gosh, I've had a blast. Isn't that what life was supposed to be like? I've stated this before, but man, I want fantastic relationships. I want a fantastic life. I want my women to experience fantastic experiences, right? Like, mediocre is just not for me. And in my opinion, I have not met any women who actually knew that mediocrity was not inevitable, okay? Like, women, if they could choose, they'd want fantastic because they care, okay? There's tons of guys that choose mediocrity because they don't care. And they're just happy with the way things are and no big deal and whatever because of low self-worth, okay? Settling always has to do with low self-worth. But if you have a high self-worth, you know that settling is not an option. But as a man, that's fantastic for me because, like, I can go out and I can create everything that I want to create. A feminine woman can't do that. Can she do that? Yes, she can, of course. But to remain in her femininity and do that, not so much. You know, like, if she chooses to have her cake and eat it too, meaning let's choose a direction, she's going to end up being masculine. And going back to femininity once you started a masculine path for a woman, oh my gosh, it's a journey. The easiest thing would have just to remain there and be fired up outside your brain in the now all the time as a result. Make sense? Comment down below if it makes sense.
Trusting your decision making, trusting that you know what's best for you and you are, strong enough within your womanhood and your femininity to make those decisions for yourself is going to help you grow so much as a woman. So this next one, I think it's important, but it's also just a personal pet peeve.
The last one, again, it's just like, have you noticed that women struggle to make decisions? Like small decisions. Like going to the restaurant. A feminine woman will be like, oh, what should I order? I don't know. And then she's like, what are you gonna eat? And then she's like, I'll have what he has. What do you get it? A masculine woman will be like, I'm ordering for you. He's gonna have this, that, and the other. I'll pay for it. Like you see, like we're switching roles very often, or we'll pay 50-50. Femininity, like, yeah, of course they have decisions of their own. Of course they have wants and desires, and they express those wants and desires. But if they're with a masculine man, he's going to make sure that every emotional need is going to be fulfilled.
Of mine. And it's kind of a silly small thing, but I do think that it speaks to a larger issue. And that is, I think that we need to sort of cut this issue of not knowing how to talk on the phone and like not being able to hold conversations over the phone. I've seen so many TikToks of people. There was one that was so funny, and it was this girl and her hands like shaking as she's like trying to call the doctor's office, right? Again, our generation's very like, we're the texting generation. Like that's what we grew up with. That's what we know. We're not like here to like make phone calls. And when we do, there's a level of anxiety that arises when we try to do that. That is something that if you struggle with it, we got to work through that. We have to be able to order room service or to talk to our banker or, to do these things that are so important to know how to do. Like not even just as a woman, but as an adult.
Adulting. Fun? Sounds fun? Now, obviously picking up the phone and actually calling someone, yeah, should that be a big deal? Hopefully not, right? But at the same time, I get it, okay? Like my wife prefers that I call the doctor's office, that I call this and that and the other, and that I take care of business and provide an environment for her. Because the thing is that as a woman, if you pick up the phone, you could get rejected. You could. The person on the other side, you don't know them. Why would you put, as a man, why would you put your woman through the experience of rejection? You don't know what's going to happen when she goes out there. And picking up the phone is a single experience, meaning you're one person. You're picking up the phone. The other people around you are not hearing what's being said. That can be scary for feminine women. Okay? Now, obviously, some masculine women will be like, what the heck? Come on. But feminine women will understand me. Feminine women. She's talking about it. She says it's a problem. She says it's a pet peeve of hers. For feminine women. She's basically saying feminine women grow up and become masculine. How is that evolution of feminine? You just become more masculine, man. You get better. No. If you were 3 women, however, in many ways, that fulfills the masculine role for you guys. If you're 3 women going up to a desk, if you're 3 women picking up the phone and putting it on the loudspeaker, if you're 3 women doing things together, or just 2 is enough, okay? The 3rd one is out there doing something else, or helping the husband, or helping the kid, or whatever it is. Women just need other women for backup, okay? They go to the bathroom together in their teenage years for a reason. They don't do that just for fun, okay? There's a reason why feminine women do what they do. They're vulnerable. Keep it. Keep that vulnerability. I'd say don't pick up the phone if you're by yourself and alone, okay? In my opinion, because you want to remain in your vulnerability. Now, obviously, should you always stress with picking up the phone? Well, texting is actually a solution for that. That's less dangerous. It is, even though it's ridiculous to think like that in the 21st century, but you get what I'm saying.
And, I understand that it can be intimidating when you're so used to just talking to people via text. But don't underestimate the importance of knowing how to communicate and articulate yourself both in person and on the phone. These are the ways that we are able to advocate for ourselves, to dispute things that need disputing, right? Like there are some times where, let's say there's a charge on your credit card that you didn't make. You need to call your bank. You need to be able to talk and say like, hey, I don't know what's going on with my transactions, but I didn't, like there are just moments in life where you're going to need to know how.
You're going to have to tap into your masculine energy and masculinity. Yeah, that's sad. Okay? Women shouldn't have to do that. It's unnecessary, uncalled for, and it will bring rejection. Confronting a charge, confronting the store owner saying that you charged me too much money, give me my money back. Women don't want to do that stuff. And as men, we have to take on that responsibility, which sucks in monogamy. Do you see this? Like in 3 in Love, they'd take care of that stuff themselves. They'd man up together, you know? And they wouldn't be fearful because they're 3, right? And if it's something that really, most probably, will cause a lot of rejection, the man takes care of it, or he gets, you know, his male assistant to go and do it for him. You know what I mean? Because he's got more important things to do. Did you get what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
How to communicate. And, you know, if you have this overwhelming anxiety of
there's nothing wrong with learning how to communicate though, but it's just easier for femininity to do so if they are surrounded by their best friends so that they can do things together and not have to be rejected on their own, because that would increase their masculinity more, that would piss them off, and they would care, and they'd feel inadequate and overwhelmed, and like and would be thinking about it all day freaking long. Okay? Like you make women into masculine creatures, they're going to be inside their heads all the time. So much so that they struggle sleeping. So much so that it creates all sorts of problems. They're in a relationship, men will understand this one, where women are just yapping and yapping and yapping and yapping and yapping about their friend who didn't reply, or who, whatever it is. Like, guys are just like, I don't want to hear about your friends. I don't want to hear about your issues. I don't want to hear about, do you get what I'm saying? Which is a man really rejecting her, which a woman would never do. If she had a best friend, the best friend would listen to her intently and care and blah, blah, blah. But the man is like, man, I got way more important things to do than this. And you're still thinking about that? Women can't control that. When they're rejected, they have to think about it. Okay? This is why players are so evil, because they tap into that. They're like, let's reject her, and she'll think about me continuously for the rest of the day, even though I was an asshole. Do you see what I'm saying? It is horrible to expect women to become men, because they'll become men and they'll forget how it is to be a woman. Like literally, they won't be able to feel their body. Okay? They're gonna be in their heads instead of in their body, and that's a problem.
Talking on the phone, this is something that we need to work on, and we just got to get past it. We got to just get past it. Like there is no other answer. We just have to get past it and be able to communicate both in person and on the phone if we want to grow and mature. Okay, so the next key to growing as a woman is building up your savings account. I actually did an Instagram live where I talked about how I built up my savings account and was able to pay off my student loans this year. Let's just praise the Lord. And so if you guys are actually interested in me doing a video about how
loan? Debt? Why? For what? Studies? Why? You know, like that's my first thing goes through my head. And then you had to save up money to pay that back, and you did it? It's amazing that you did that. But oh my gosh, what women have to go through these days is horrible. It's horrible. Why do they have to do that? Right? So that was the direction she chose, which was a burden, which she's now celebrating that she finally passed. But could you imagine all those years not having to work? All those years not having to go to school? All those years of disciplining herself, etc., etc. Instead, she could have been playing and enjoyed her life and enjoyed the flowers and enjoyed the prairie and you know, swim in the lake and blah, blah, blah with her best friends. Do you see how the lifestyle that I'm proposing is just a completely different way of thinking than what normal women out there are struggling with? Like if she's engaged to get married Obviously, she started her studies, hadn't met him yet, and all that stuff. But it's so sad to know that women have to go through that when they're going to meet a man of high value who has money, so that they don't need to work at all. So
how I did that, comment down below and I will make a video for you guys. But building up your savings account is another important thing to know how to do and to put into practice as you grow and evolve as a woman. Now, I am never one to say like, oh, your husband's going to leave you, or this is not going to work out, or that's not going to work out. But being a feminine woman and being a woman who is mature, there's a certain level of preparedness that you have to account for. And things happen, right? Like even if your husband doesn't leave you, if God forbid something were to happen where you all of a sudden have to be the breadwinner, or you have to sort of take up financially for your family, God forbid anything were to happen to your partner, it's important that you have something to be able to do that.
So, what do we say on this? Is it good for women these days, in this day and age, to have a savings account and to save money? Yes, it is good. Okay? I'm not going to tell you be financially irresponsible until you meet your man. No. But don't save dollars, save in Bitcoin, in my opinion. No, not financial advice, but it's ridiculous to save in dollars or whatever fiat currency you have, because it's going to become worthless and it's depreciating in value every single year. And last year they printed 35% of all dollars that have ever been in existence in 1 year. They printed 35% of all dollars. So you see, your dollars, wherever you live in the world, whatever currency you're using, are going down. What's going up? A Bitcoin. Okay? Unless you want to invest in gold and silver, but I bet you don't. So save in Bitcoin. If you got any questions about that, comment down below or DM me at Men of High Value. I'll help you out. Because that is a savings technology and you basically become your own bank if you want to. Or you can use, an exchange that is a bank for you. But that's way safer than keeping your money in the bank or keeping your money in your mattress or whatever it is that you choose to do. So, yeah. But preferably, in a perfect world, that wouldn't exist at all. The man, you see the three phases that I just spoke to you about? The man provides and protects. While the father provides and protects. While he does that, the women find each other and have tons of girlfriends. And then the man provides, together with the other fathers, a short list, right, of men, potential partners, potential bachelors. The women choose the one that they want. Great. She's moved now from one provision over to the next provisioner, right? She's protected, she's provided for the rest of her life. Wouldn't that be amazing? And that, where is the need for a savings account at this point in time? Do you see what I'm saying? Do you want to have to worry about money? Do you want to have to think about, oh, I shouldn't spend, or I'm going to need to spend less, and I need to discipline myself. Discipline! That sounds very masculine to me. So if you have a man of high value who has been voluntary celibate for a time, building up a massively strong financial foundation, you'll never need a savings account. Oh yeah, but what happens if he dies or he leaves me? A man of high value will never leave you. That's what makes him a man of high value. He doesn't dispense of women. If you are 3 women, trust me, he will not leave you guys. Okay? It's physically impossible if he applies the principles, and he's received a stamp of approval from the network, Men of High Value. He won't leave you. Okay? He won't choose you guys if he doesn't want to be with you in the first place. Men who has set up a family very, very rarely leaves women. It's always women who end up having a hard time in marriage because they're fish out of water in monogamy. They can't handle it, even though they think that that's what they want. But the man can be monogamous, like the man can be in marriage. He'll suck, but he'll be like, it's okay. I'm going to get through it. I do love her. I love the kids. I want to be strong as a family. And the woman is like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling it for this guy anymore. I've lost all attraction. I don't know what to do. And she wants to leave because it's always greener on the other side, right? So there's a lot of problems that comes from monogamy. But anyway, what happens if the dude dies or if he leaves? He won't leave. We've taken care of that one, okay? He won't. But if he dies, well, we've got a philosophy on that one. If the women are unburdened, trust me, and he's on his grind, he'll be protected. But what if he's not? Okay, what if he's not? Well, guess what? He has a will, and he'll make sure that he has that immediately as he takes over the provision. And either the daughters go back to their, fathers and receive protection and help from their fathers if the fathers are still alive. And if not, the man who has already set up a very strong foundation, the women will inherit that money so that they can find a new man of high value. Right? Because they need some overlap. And I would have no problems doing that for my 3 women in the future, where I have obviously massive amounts of savings that's probably going to last them a lifetime. And they get that if I were to pass away. Great. So anyway, just the thought there.
This tip reminds me of that movie Jumping the Broom. I don't know if anyone's I'm sure some of you have seen it. Paula Patton is in it. I forget the guy's name. It's the acting is like pretty terrible, but it's a cute movie. I made Kane watch it over quarantine. In that movie, the family is very wealthy. They're this very wealthy black family, and
did you notice she got her husband to watch it during quarantine? Do you think he wanted to watch that movie? Probably not. No offense, but that's something you watch with your girlfriends. But your man, unfortunately, is becoming a girl because he has to spend time with you, especially during quarantine. Oh my gosh. How many masculine men, they're not even masculine, but how many masculine men have become way more feminine than they had to in the past?
And
including me, by the way. I hate it.
Husband actually confesses that he's lost all of their money. He has lost all of their money in bad investments. And then at the end, spoiler alert. And then at the end, it's revealed that the wife had actually been saving up money the entire time. She had enough to take care of the situation. That's a very, very, very good lesson.
That's horrible. Why would he do that? See, that was a feminine man. He should have never married her in the first place. That was a bad mistake from the father's standpoint, 1. Number 2, what the heck is that man doing? Wasting all their money.
Again, I will never tell you that you can't rely on your spouse or that you can't rely on, the person who you're committed to. But life happens, you guys. And again, I think being a mature woman and being a mature feminine woman comes down to preparedness. So learn how to build up your savings account. If you work with a company that offers a matching program for a 401k or, whatever it is that you can do, just stash some money away every time you get paid. And you will be surprised to see how much you can save in a very, in a year if you just stash money away and don't touch it. And then if you ever needed something, if you ever needed a big amount for anything, you have that, and it's like your rainy day fund, right? I think
yeah, as long as it's not in dollars, because that's gonna die in the next 5 to 10 years, in my opinion. Who knows? But yeah, save it up in Bitcoin. You'll be very happy you did, and that's a very interesting thing. But yeah, but it's good what she's saying. I mean, also, when you do save, I'm not going to be opposed to it because it teaches you minimalism. If all 3 women are minimalist in the sense that they don't like to spend a lot, but it really comes from discipline, though. To be honest with you, I want my women to spend. I want my women to spend a lot. Why? Because I'm out there making exponential amounts of money. Do you understand how much money a man can make if he actually has motivation to do so? He's fired up outside his brain. He's got an entrepreneurship brain, and he focuses on serving the masses and helping millions of people. It's impossible for that man to go hungry. It's impossible for those women to spend up all his money. Now, obviously, he's going to be wise about how much money they get on their credit cards or whatever, their credit limit or whatever it is. But so that can continuously grow, so that over time they will simply have too much money to spend, right? And of course the cool part about it, when women are unburdened, they're actually rational, so they actually won't be spending crazily like women spend these days. The more burdened a woman is, the more she spends on crazy stuff. Okay, so An example is Paris Hilton, who wanted to become a billionaire. I did a video on her where she was saying that I want to become a billionaire. Okay, then why the heck are you wasting all your money? You know, like, it doesn't make any sense, which is what she did. But basically, the more burden a woman is, the more she's going to spend, the more she's going to waste her money on stuff that she doesn't even use. But as a feminine woman, you'll actually be thinking wisely about it because you've been trained by your husband about how to think about money. And since you're unburdened, you actually can't control that. But you'll still be a spender, and he'll encourage you to spend, which is a great quality to have because that money goes into the economy and that comes back to him tenfold. And then you guys spend it all into the economy and it comes back to him tenfold. Do you get what I'm saying? I want to be the man who creates so much money that the women don't have capacity to spend it all. I don't mind doing that. There's massive amounts of abundant wealth in the world.
Rainy day fund is really important to have, and especially as a woman. My last bit of advice for you in evolving as a feminine woman is to not allow yourself to be a doormat. Ever, okay? And this goes for romantic relationships, this goes for friendships, this goes for family relationships. We have to know how to stand up for ourselves at some point.
Horrible, but true in monogamous society. So this video became like monogamy makes life a big struggle for femininity. 3 in Love makes it possible for you to actually remain in your femininity forever, practically easily to do so. Okay, so but what she's saying here, you have to do that. You have to stand up for yourself. You have to, you can't be a doormat, especially like in monogamy. Like, oof, really, a doormat in monogamy? That's gonna be interesting. If you're a doormat, you won't express your emotions. Is that feminine? No, you need to be able to express everything out, get it out. Now, preferably you do that inside an inner circle or with the people that you trust. But if you're feminine, you'd naturally just do that. You would not express your emotions wildly with strangers because that's only masculine women who do that. Burdened women who can't control themselves. But feminine women would always be in control kind of who they are and what they do. And so they'd naturally not be doormats. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, because they'd express. But, but at the same time, like this topic wouldn't even be a discussion in 3 in Love because you stand up for each other when you're out and about or when you're with other family members, extended family, and when you're with the man. If the man creates a problem, you guys stand together. You stand up for each other. He's the common enemy. He's the one that you guys need to change and improve. And he receives it if he's a man of high value. If he's a man of low value, then, he's going to cause problems. But he should not have been selected in the first place. What the heck were your fathers thinking?
And there, again, like all of these things come over time and with life experience. But there has to be a moment where you stop allowing people to walk all over you and you stop allowing people to talk to you any sort of way and to treat you any sort of way. And you are able to articulate yourself in a, calm and polite and respectful manner and say, hey, this is not okay with me. I'm not okay with you speaking like that. I'm not okay with X, Y, and Z. If you're not going to advocate for yourself, who is going to do it for you?
Your man. What the heck? If he's there. And guess what? In a monogamous relationship where the woman remains feminine, the man has to kind of be there all of the time and defend you and stand up for you and make sure you're not run over, right? But in 3 in Love, it's just like the women are there for each other and they stand up for each other and they tap into their latent masculinity when there's an emergency. And if someone's trying to walk over them, that's not happening.
For you, right? You have to be able to advocate for yourself and speak up for yourself. And I think a lot of times, particularly with women, and I can't speak for men, so I don't know what they go through, but I think a lot of times women kind of fall into this place of, never really learning to speak up for themselves. And then 5 years goes by, 10 years go by, 20 years go by, but time goes by. And then you still don't know how to say, you know what, I've had enough of this. Or, you know what, I'm done. Like, I'm moving on from this.
You see how masculine that is? Like, why should a woman have to go through that stuff in the first place? Like, why does she have to say, I've had enough, I'm done with this? Why would a woman who has true joy, bliss, and happiness all of the time even have the thought So I'm just telling you guys that this is not necessary. But in today's world, with monogamy and with being single and independent, you kind of have to do that.
At some point, we have to learn how to stick up for ourselves, because if we don't do it, who else is going to do it for us? And of course, we have family and people that care about us and all that stuff, and all that's great. But at some point, we do have to learn how to advocate for ourselves and how to be our own biggest cheerleader. And I think that's really important. An important aspect of growing as a woman and maturing and evolving as a woman is finding your voice and being.
Imagine if you had 2 cheerleaders that were there all the time, every day. Now, some masculine women would be like, oh no, I couldn't handle that, blah, blah, blah. You hear how I'm deepening my voice? But feminine women would love to cheer their best friends on and be cheered back, right?
Being able to articulate yourself, your opinions, and stand up for yourself and say, that's not okay with me. That's going to be very important as you grow and as you mature as a woman. All right, guys, that is it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and comment down below how you have matured as a woman and how you are evolving as a feminine woman. All right, I'm going to run. Well, I'm not going to run, but I'm going to go. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Oh, you can find me on Instagram.
So, just want to say, Felicia, she did a great job. She deserves the like for this one. And, some things, sounds like I'm really horrible to her and all that stuff, but she's doing the best with what she can, with the knowledge she has and with the circumstance she's in, and she's just trying to help 130,000 women around the world tap into their femininity. Some of it is really going to make them masculine, but what are women going to do? What are women going to do? What are the options? There are no other options, because men suck the vast majority of the time. So women have to take care of themselves. If he's not going to do it, or if I don't have a man to do that stuff for me, then I have to learn it. Sad, sad world we live in, because it doesn't have to be that way. We can actually have true joy, bliss, and happiness for men, for women, and for children. But for that to happen, we need multiple mothers, and the magic number is 3. Thank you so much for watching, guys. You guys are awesome. I'll see you guys in the next one.